This is an incredible time to be a sports fan, and frankly, an even greater time to be a New Yorker.
The perfect storm of sports and mayhem is hitting New York City, with Trump's ICE MAGA Gestapo being sent in right as the World Cup is set to kick off. Yet, the Democratic Socialist mayor is handling it with such grace that it's literally flipping entire demographics, which is why Trump is sending his newest dope to debase himself in public like this.
We have mayors like Mamdani in New York who want to say, you're not welcome. As a mayor, he knows what's happening on the streets. He knows who he's harboring, and at this point in abating. By saying that we can't go operate, we're going to. We're going to go find the worst of the worst. We're going to rescue as many kids as we possibly can. We're going to enforce our nation's laws, and we're going to right the wrongs that the Biden administration turned a blind eye to. It's because of President Trump's leadership.
There is nothing that MAGA hates more than a leftist on top. This sad attempt to make New Yorkers and those visiting for the World Cup either uncomfortable or literally unsafe is just going to backfire on Trump. Him, his border czar, and Mark Wayne Mullen have already been warned once by the baddest in New York to stay out. I'm of course talking about the mayor, who didn't hesitate for a second to confront these peons, again proving to the rest of us that good governance is possible. You just have to elect someone who's willing to spit fire like this. We will not allow ICE or anyone else to sow fear in our communities, especially at this moment. As the world comes to our city, we will stand proudly with our immigrant neighbors and reject these attacks for what they are, an attempt to divide us. Honestly, the U.S. should never have been allowed to host the World Cup with Trump as president. As great as it is for the country in some aspects, there's just too much leverage for the president to get people hurt. They've already shown us how serious they are about ruining this for everyone. Multiple teams have already been harassed as they entered the country, but the most egregious so far has been this Somali referee. Omar Artan had his documentation and the proper visa, but was rejected because of some obviously trumped-up false claims about terrorism. This man is so highly respected by his country that he was literally thrown an event when he came back. It is so shameful for our country to reject people and treat them like criminals because Trump is in the Oval Office. MAGA only cares about getting Trump to piss on them next, to the point where they're literally dropping hints that he's some sort of king.
Doing well. So now ICE is funded through the end of Donald Trump's reign.
Seems like Fox has forgotten that the point of a leader is to serve, not to rule. They can take that shit back to medieval England or wherever the hell they think they are right now. Take a look at what a real leader looks like, because it's nothing like a king, at least not that kind.
This is a big city, and we know how to put on big events. The World Cup will be no exception. Over the next 5.5 weeks, we will implement long-standing plans to ensure that our infrastructure and transportation networks run smoothly and that every New Yorker and visitor is safe. For the many New Yorkers who are so excited to watch this tournament across our city, I encourage you to take advantage of the many opportunities to do so, because the World Cup belongs to you. When we celebrate the World Cup, we are celebrating a working-class sport and the working people who play it. The World Cup is more than a collection of 104 games played over 39 days in 16 cities. It is the rare occasion that brings the world together, that creates memories that we cherish for the rest of our lives, that for 90 minutes at a time turns complete strangers into best friends. I can think of nowhere better to host the world's game than a city that reflects that world.
It's been said a million times to Sunday, but Zohran's media strategy cannot be beaten. Giving people this kind of direct information and support is so key to making sure that people feel the city is capable. And I know it sounds crazy, but that kind of direct communication and direct delivery of material benefits is key to how Zohran is maintaining a multicultural coalition.
In focusing on the affordability crisis, in delivering on that crisis, we are finally bringing the struggles of Black New Yorkers and New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs to the heart of our politics and not just to the footnotes of it.
Yeah. There's been a long-running criticism, argument made about Bernie Sanders, Democratic Socialists in general, that Democratic socialism treats class as the primary lens and race as secondary, even sometimes ignoring it completely. The assumption being that if you fix the economic inequality, racial inequality will just follow and doesn't require its own focus. It seems like you're saying you disagree with that.
I think that we need to have a vision that encompasses all of these things. We have to have an understanding of the impacts of class, and we have to have an understanding of the impacts of race. We cannot divorce the racial inequities we see across the city, which are so stark in just the measurements of median household wealth and income, from the political choices and decisions that have been made over many years. And, I even think about there was a policy that Rudy Giuliani had implemented of a tax lien sale. We found that the city was 6 times more likely to sell tax liens in a Black neighborhood than in a white neighborhood. That's, that and the impact that it has on homeowners, one of the reasons why we put a pause to that sale. And I think it just speaks to the many ways in which government has exacerbated racism across not just the city, but frankly, across our country through its political choices, and it's time to actually address it.
Black folks can't pay their rent on good intentions. We need solutions now. And when Zohran was able to deliver, well, you see the results. For years, socialist was such a scary word that it was unthinkable that any sizable faction of the center would align with one. But look at these numbers. It definitely seems like things have changed. Edgermentum on Twitter said that this is the most striking graph of the entire race. Plattner didn't win as a leftist candidate as much as he transcended ideological divides entirely. 43.2% of moderates plus liberals voted for Plattner. Only a quarter of the people who voted for him in the primary self-identify as socialists, proving that it doesn't matter your identity, it doesn't matter your ideology. You can't argue with results. Even the liberals and the moderates in a swing state like Maine are looking at their options and saying, you know what? I think I'll take the person talking about focusing on the working class.
These were not just ideas on a campaign. These were commitments. We're now going to fulfill them. When we talked about affordable groceries, that's what we're going to actually fulfill. When we talked about delivering universal childcare, that's what we're fulfilling. And when we talked about doing all of these things while also paving over potholes, we're showing that you don't have to make that choice anymore between the biggest vision and the smallest problem. I think that the party as a whole has lost its focus on working people. And I'm hopeful that we start to develop that. And frankly, we used to have that. You look at the 4 freedoms, you look at the real core of the New Deal. There was a moment when this party was unabashed about its focus on working people, and I'm excited to bring it back there.
The neoliberal political establishment is officially too weak to defend itself. So now is the time for democratic socialism to strike before fascism finally finishes its takeover. Subscribe to U.S. Democratic Socialists to stay informed. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.